Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
All right, guys. So for today's Pro Physique Code, we got a lot of stuff we want to go over, but I want everyone to jump in below with our question of the day, which is, if there was something you didn't have, what would you want for Christmas that's fitness related?
And you cannot put me, Paul, or Lexi as an option.
You can put me. I go nicely with a bow under the tree.
Yes, you do.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, tell us what you're asking for this year for the holidays. What's on the top of your list? Yeah, let us know. I'm always
And
curious.
tell us about your, because we kind of suspect a lot of people are going to talk about the Ninja Creamy, like if you didn't have one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to sit here and say it's old news because it's definitely been like, it was, I feel like the hype for a long time. And I mean, I still think it is, but I was kind of a late adopter. I actually got one for my birthday. I think it was last year. So I've had it for almost a year, and maybe longer than that. And I, like, before I got it, I'm not really an ice cream person. Like, it's not something I'm like always craving. So I didn't really think I'd ever use a Ninja Creamy, but I think it's one of those things when you get it and you start like realizing what it does, it's addictive. Like, I get sad when I don't have my Ninja Creamy each night. And I think a lot of people like can attest to that too. Like when this past year at the Olympia, Paul, Masa had a Ninja Creamy sent to Brett's house, shipped to Brett's house, so she could have her creamy every night. But I mean, hey, I love it. And it's definitely different than like if you just blend, like a shake or, something like that. Like it's incredible what it does with minimal ingredients.
Lexi, have you seen the new Ninja Swirl?
Yeah, it's funny. My clients, we have a group Discord, and a couple of them were talking about that, and we were all kind of deciding it's not really worth it because you can still make the soft serve with the normal Ninja Creamy if you spin it enough. But I don't know. I think the
Does it come out in the little like swirl
no,
thing?
but I mean, does that really make a difference? I mean, maybe to some people. I don't know. But it's actually funny because when I bought my condo, my realtor got me another Ninja Creamy, and it's actually a lot nicer than the old one I had. So yeah, so now I have a backup just in case one breaks.
For the Lexi party nights, the Ninja Creamy parties.
I have mine most nights. I have mine. It's like my last thing of the day. It's my favorite. It is loud. I will tell you, it is loud.
Yes.
So I don't know, like if you're somebody that lives with a roommate or something, I don't know if I don't know.
It's incredibly loud.
It is. Yeah. It's not something you can, like, if you live with a roommate or you live with people and like you do it when they're sleeping, like it would probably wake them up for sure.
Like those really nice like Vitamix blenders, like they have at Smoothie King. Imagine turning that up as loud as you can go for like 4 straight minutes. It's basically what it sounds like.
Basically.
Wow, that's aggressive. I used to work in a Planet Smoothie in college.
Really?
And my ears would be numb after blending stuff all day.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, I love it. And I know everybody always asks like, what's your recipe? What's your recipe? And I have it on my YouTube channel. I have it on Instagram. So like, there's a lot of different things you can do with it. I just feel like you have to kind of play around with it and kind of, find what works.
Well, I'm starting prep here soon, so I feel like now's the time. I probably need to get one because when you get leaner, you get a little bit more motivated to try stuff out. Like when you have a lot of body fat, you don't care. I'm just like, give me some peanut butter on a piece of bread. I'm fine with that. But at the end of prep, I'm like a gourmet chef. Like I take my time, everything looks nice. I set my plate up, I have my moment. I don't know. Does anyone else do that?
Well, that's how I feel with my Ninja Creamy every night, though. It's like my little routine. I'll sit down. It takes a while to eat too, because it's like bigger. And I just watch my show, and like it's a little ritual, and like it's nice because it's not gone in 3 minutes either. It like takes some time to really.
I think it's that sweetness satiating factor. Like you look forward to something sweet. But Evan said he kind of notices he is a little heavier in the morning after having it creamy. So I'm curious if anyone listening has that same experience.
Yeah, I'm interested to know it's probably anecdotal, but I know I'm not the only one. A few people I've known, they see kind of the same kind of trend
I
with
mean,
it.
the
When
only
typically,
difference between the ingredients and the creamy is that it puts air into it, right? It makes it higher
yeah,
volume.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
you're
could
just
definitely
full of
see,
air.
I could
I,
definitely
I feel
see
like I look a little
somebody.
bloated in the morning in my core.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, and I've experimented with it before too, because like I would take it out like before shows, like the last, 2 days. But I mean, again, it's person dependent. I didn't really notice a difference, but I also don't have mine right before I lay down to go to bed. I will tell you what I used to do years ago in prep was I used to do what I called like protein fluff with like a Ninja
mhm.
blender, and literally it was just protein powder, ice, and either water or a little bit of
Yep.
almond milk. And you would blend that for like, I'm talking 5 minutes, and it would get like really fluffy, but it had a lot of air bubbles in it. And like that, to me, that would bloat me way more than the Ninja Creamy. The Ninja
Mhm.
Creamy, it has a lot of volume, but you don't feel like you're eating air, if that makes
No,
sense.
you don't. It feels denser
It
for
does.
sure.
It definitely does. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the difference is I have it laying down while I'm in bed. Like,
Oh,
yes, that's my
oh,
ritual.
okay. Then that's a little different. Yeah.
The most like Evan's like, I just went through a breakup. I'm in bed watching rom-coms, eating my ice cream.
Eating my ice cream.
No, I always make sure afterwards, gotta get up, walk a little bit, not go on a walk, but like do a little bit of digestion walking just so that way it's not sitting in my stomach.
250 jumping jacks. That's my rule.
Uh,
Well, these
well,
are some good prep hacks, and I think today's topic we're going to talk about, how to act like a pro. Um, but before we get into that, let's talk about the shows this last weekend because there was a couple pretty big names hitting the bikini stage. And if you saw the list that came out this week, they're still hitting the stage. So, Lexi, you thought about coming down to Atlantic Coast. I'm almost going to say it was good you didn't come because let me tell you something. I was in that venue from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. It was the
Wow.
longest weekend.
oh wow. Yeah, I was following your stories, and I mean for you it looked like it was long, and then of course there was the Sunday show, which Atlantic always throws me for a loop because I always forget that I know that the natural show is on Sunday, but the pro show is all the pro bikini at least is always on
Well, it was pro
Sunday.
women's physique, pro, um, what was something else pro women's
Bikini.
bodybuilding, and then the pro bikini. Yeah, so it was a pretty good. Or was there some guys? I can't remember.
There was figure as well. That was on
That was
Saturday.
on Saturday. So yeah, they had the NPC show and then half of the pros on Saturday and the natural show on Sunday with half of the pros. So I had people both days and it's like they did a prejudging finals and it was like I just had the wrong number of like I had a fit model here and a bikini here and a pro here and a pro and it was like I literally and then it was at the convention center, Lexi, you'll appreciate this.
I was there last year.
They
Yeah.
just, yeah, but it's doubled in size. It is now
Okay.
the port. They're bringing all the Royal Caribbean ships up to Fort Lauderdale versus Miami.
Oh.
So it took an hour and a half to get to the venue for some people that were 10 minutes away.
Wow.
Something was wrong with the traffic coming into the port. So people were missing the show. People
Oh.
were literally getting out of their cars and walking.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I mean, I love the cruise ships. I appreciate that, but no, I don't appreciate the traffic. That would be a nightmare.
I don't know why though. I don't understand the flow of traffic. Everyone was trying to get in and park to get on the cruise ships, I'm guessing. And it was
What?
just there was no way for I don't know what the stopgap was, but it was literally, 17th Street where the cruise the street where the show is on one side and the hotels are on the other.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same place that the show we were at earlier this year, Paul,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Battle
yeah, yeah.
Vibes.
Same
Yeah, yeah,
place.
yeah.
But something changed like they just opened up the port or something. So there was literally an hour of cars lined
Gosh,
up on the street not moving.
that's terrible. And yeah, that's terrible. Gosh, and that's
Yeah.
something you can't really like
Yeah.
couldn't plan for either. But yeah, I actually did hear that I heard about somebody missing their like missing
A
prejudging.
lot of people.
Yeah, gosh, that's terrible. I hate to hear that. But yeah, long show weekend for you. And then there was I mean that Kansas City show that was the
Hmm.
Bikini Pro show that Lana did. That was, I mean, that was a pretty like tiny but mighty lineup, I would say.
Yeah, so Maria pretty much dominated Atlantic. I don't think she was challenged.
Yeah.
The girl Jess has such a great physique, but she was really flat compared to what I saw her earlier this year. She just didn't have that pop. And Maria is so good. Like you're not beating her unless you're really on. Yulia looked great. Um, so it was a good lineup. Cassandra looked great. I think Yulia ended up in third. But I was honestly like I thought Yulia should have been second. I thought, but Jess has such a good front pose. Um, and then out in Kansas City, Amy did that show, so everyone kind of knew it was her
Hmm.
show. Um, and she's in the lineup again this week in Spain.
I
Is she?
saw that. You
I
know,
think she just doing a tour de force here, just like running the table to the end of the year.
that's a great question. And honestly, I could reach out to her and ask because I talk to her every once in a while. But I that's what I assume. Like I kind of assume that maybe she's just running with this momentum, and I don't, kind of
Well,
maybe.
if she's planning to do the Arnold, I don't think it's a terrible idea because one thing you don't have a lot of time between Olympia and Arnold is to mess around. So
Yeah.
if she stays in shape and the Arnold this year, I don't know if Laura Lee's doing it. Like it's one of those shows she hasn't won yet, and that's one of those titles. If you get that, it's feather in your cap.
Yeah.
I think Amy's one of those girls that when she goes on a string of shows within like a 6 to 8 week range, I think she gets better almost every single show.
Agree. Yeah, getting
Yeah.
better, and then typically she takes that break off before the Olympia, and then doesn't do as well at the Olympia.
I think if she took that same strategy and would go and compete like in 3 or 4 shows leading into Olympia, I think, it'd probably be a little bit easier for her. But I'm sure they've thought about all this stuff too. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and
this is all stuff they haven't thought about.
yeah, every year is different with
Yeah.
competing. So I'll just be curious to see because there's only a couple shows left. The Battle of the Bay in California in a couple weeks is the last pro show of the year. It's in
Yeah.
California. I would be shocked if she's not also doing that one. If she's going all the way to Spain, coming all the way back, and it's
Yeah.
in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's the same weekend as the Battle Up show in Texas, right? December 6th.
Yeah, it's a Spectrum show. I
Yeah.
think it's a Sandy show. I think it's their only bikini pro show of the year. It's the last one they have left. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, but it's been a lot of the top Olympians have just continued their seasons and they're scooping up these wins. And I think now Maria and Amy are already requalified.
Amy, yes, I believe Maria would needs one more win. I don't think she's
I
qualified
don't
yet. Maybe.
know. Okay, I
Don't
don't know.
don't don't quote me on
That
that.
that's the hard part now is like tracking because there's some of these little shows you almost don't hear about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Um, but there's also the points thing. So, but I figure most of the top 10 girls are going to be going to the Arnold,
Oh
which
wait,
is
you know
cool.
what? Maria is qualified. Never mind. Maria is qualified. Yeah, she's one of the qualified ones right now, along with Amy.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I feel, I don't want to say I feel bad for Massa because Massa's been fighting for a pro win for a while now, and Kansas City would have been her pro win if number 4 in the world wasn't there. Was Amy fourth? Four? Three? No, she was four. She wasn't
Three,
in that
It's
final
four.
just
three.
fourth. Yeah.
um, which means that's top 3 actually are automatically qualified. But yeah, so you kind of want, and even Lana, when I decided to put her in that show, it was because we did, listen, I know she didn't get rewarded at the Olympia, but that was the best we'd ever looked. With best we'd ever peaked, her physique was responding. She was dropping weight. We were able to feed her a burger the night before. And I mean, I was just like, when she came out in her lineup, my eye went to her. So I was like, man, I don't really want to end your season on such a high note while also being 6th call out. Like it just feels very so to get third, and she actually had $1,000, which is not normal for a small pro show.
Yeah, she looked awesome. I mean, seeing her up next to Amy and Massa, like she compared extremely well. So no, she looked incredible, and
She
I like
is deceptively jacked.
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
she is.
so,
That's a good way to put it.
well, and we got in front of Bill, who's head judging Ben Weeder, to get feedback. So it was a double whammy for us. She's going to be on stage Friday. And when I tell you she checked in yesterday, down 4 pounds from show day.
Oh my gosh. Was she kind of like, was she inflamed
She
or
was feeling a little bloated,
oh,
the
she did
stress of
tell
the
me that.
travel. She had 2
Yeah.
photo shoots, one with Angels, one with a photographer that had all these like Ferraris and Lamborghinis that was local that found out she was coming. So she was just like, plus all her posing clients. So I told her like
Calm
she's
down.
been compounding the stress. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. I did talk with her on show day, and I know she said she was like, I just felt really thick in my midsection, and like I know that
So
feeling. Yeah.
we had a decision to make. We were going to do the Ben Weeder or not. She's like, I'm not going to Ben Weeder if I feel like this. I said, well, just take a day. And she checked in down 4 pounds and put her contract in. I was like, okay, we're good.
That's
So
awesome.
like her lowest prep weight I've ever seen since she was an amateur was this week. So now I get to feed her back in, and she's flying out Wednesday, so it's going to be good.
Awesome. I
Small
also,
lineup for the Ben Weeder. The list came out. It's like
Yeah,
9
nine girls, I think.
yeah, I
because
feel
you
like,
had to qualify, and then you also had to travel to the United States. So it's a small list. I've got 2 of them.
Hmm.
But there was one year at the Ben Weeder, I think I had 8 or 9, and I had 4 of the top 8. There, there aren't even 8 now. It's crazy. I don't know that this qualification system is good for this show.
I don't think it is. There's
yeah.
not enough opportunities.
It's interesting. I do want to put out there before I forget, because I do I know that people listening, there may be some people going to the show. If anybody listening is going to be competing at NPC Nationals in Texas and you need a makeup artist, I'm going to throw out there. My client Rosalinda is actually traveling in just to do makeup, and she mentioned to me that she has several more spots available. So if you don't want a 3 a.m. makeup time and you want a good makeup artist,
Put it in your story.
yeah, I
Um,
have. I have.
although this
She's
comes
been,
out, okay.
yeah, she's been tagging me. But I just want to put that out there because if anybody does need
Wait,
makeup,
did she reach out to Lauren Rodriguez Mejias?
probably, yeah, yeah, because I told
Okay.
her yeah, she's doing my clients'
She
makeup.
texted me and said, "Hey, this lady reached out to me about makeup. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, get the stage look. That's all I look at. What does
So
she look like on stage?"
she's great. She's great.
She's very good.
She works for she actually works for is it Tan Masters? Whoever's on the West Coast. So
Okay.
she does makeup at all the big
Uh,
shows over there. But this is actually a show she's just flying on her own. She wanted to get the experience, wanted to do girls' makeup. So I'm helping her kind of spread the word. So yeah, she's really great. She's somebody I would trust. And she's a competitor herself. So like
mhm.
yeah, and this is her full-time job. She is a makeup artist. So
Yeah, she's very, very good. I mean, I know when I met her at Go Power, I was like, wow, your makeup looks amazing. She's like, well, I'm a makeup artist. I'm like,
yep,
okay, well, that all makes sense.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's very good.
Yeah, but yeah. So you guys want to get into our topic for today?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want to mention we've created a couple guides, a guide specific to the fit model division. It talks about the requirements, we even put a training program in there, suit stuff, everything to do with the division for conditioning. And that's a free download. And we also created one for the bikini division, and some of those questions about hair and makeup and stuff are also included in those guides. So check the links below if you just want a free guide to understand the divisions. And then we love feedback on the guides because we had one earlier this year and we've kind of updated some information as the divisions have progressed. So yeah, download those. But yeah, let's
And
talk
lastly, one
about,
more thing,
yeah.
the Pro Physique experience.
Yeah,
Command
let's
stage.
Yeah, we've already sold a third of the tickets. So if you guys, we talked about it on the last podcast. Command the stage in March at the Glute Lab with Brett Contreras, Dr. Joe, all of us, um, Lana. Listen, it's one of my favorite weekends of the year. If you're not already locked in, I would suggest getting on it. It's going to go quickly. I'm getting
Yeah.
messages daily about it.
By the time this comes out, I would assume at least half of them will be gone by that point.
Yeah, and we're doing a pre-sale price right now to so that helps us with like locking in vendors and then getting all the swag when we say, hey, we've got this many people coming. They TLF, and we're gonna have Nixie hair extensions gonna be there this year. Shoe Fairy, like we bring all the best competitor brands into this event.
That
All
we
right,
do.
so
So
Lexi,
our topic for today, I'm gonna read the message that I got. So and this is another example. Like last week we did our podcast and it was because I had somebody DM me requesting a topic. So same for this week. So we appreciate the DMs. And this person said in the podcast today, and this was from our podcast last week, you mentioned that if someone wants to be a pro, they need to start acting like a pro first. I think it'd be a great episode to explore that, everything that a pro is doing in their off season, prep, holidays, training, food management, and what all that entails. So yeah, they want us to kind of talk about like, what does it mean to act like a pro before you become a pro? Because I think that, I feel like a lot of people say they want to be a pro, but and I don't mean this harshly. I don't feel like a lot of people truly act like a pro before becoming a pro, or maybe they just don't realize what they should be doing in order to become a pro. Like it's not something for most people that just happens by sheer luck. There are some rare scenarios where you do get some just genetic anomalies and they turn pro really quickly, but we're going to really dive into, like, as coaches, what do we feel like, what does it mean to act like a pro before becoming a pro? What are qualities of our athletes that, ultimately yield to earning that pro card.
I mean, here's the truth. Can some people turn pro and say, like the football division right now at a show where they don't really act like a pro or do things that a pro would need in other divisions? Yeah, I think that sometimes can happen. But if you're talking about bikini or almost any other division that requires a good amount of muscle and shape that can't be made quickly, it's almost always required that you need to do the things that are required to get there. And it's one of those things that anything that's valuable in life is going to be difficult. If it was easy, then everyone would do it, right? Like if it was easy, literally everyone would turn pro. Everyone would. I know there's a lot of pro cards that are given out, but there's also a lot of people who try forever and never get them. So just because there's more opportunities doesn't mean that it's something that's easy to do.
Well, there, like we talked on the last podcast about how there's just as many pro cards as they've ever given out, and now there's more because of more divisions like wellness and fit model. However, there's less competitors than ever. The numbers have been dropping pretty drastically. So technically, it's easier to get a pro card. However, the talent still shows up at these shows. There are
Yeah.
still going to be people that you're going to have to beat. So there's never going to be an easy pro card. You're going to have to beat somebody or a group of people that have been working extremely hard for a long time. And in most cases, even, you'll see some shows where there's only a couple competitors for the pro card. The pro card winner still cries. Like this is still
Mhm.
a lifelong achievement and something that people have been manifesting for years. So for me, the biggest difference when it comes to like acting like a pro, I think most every competitor acts like a pro in the final stages of prep. They get very consistent with their routine, their meals, their training, they're dialed in. But it kind of, for a lot of people, that's where it ends. Versus when you meet a pro competitor that's a seasoned athlete, they're still, if they're not packing their meals, they're still eating out with very conservative, approaches. They're not missing workouts when they travel. They've just got such a good, consistent routine that they don't have big ups and downs. They're just consistent.
Mhm.
Yeah, they truly live the lifestyle, whether they're in prep or not in prep. And like, hey, like I'm all for a little bit of balance in the improvement season, right? But like, I think like what you were saying, Paul, they don't go through these big ups and downs where it's like, all right, I'm starting prep today. And so like my life is going to change. Like it's honestly prep versus improvement season are probably pretty similar in the sense of meal prep, training, and all of that. And, I think another big part of it too is like the other side of it is the mindset, right? Like I feel like part of acting like a pro before you become a pro is like the mindset side of it too. And, I'll be honest, we've all seen those athletes that they compete at a show and maybe they do well, but they don't get first place. And like it is the end of the world. They're super negative, and they don't want to be accountable. They want to blame everybody else for their malplacing. Like in my opinion, that's not how a pro acts or a pro should act. I think that I always really honor and respect the people that do maybe not get a fair placing or not fair placing, but don't place the way they want to place, yet they learn from it. They hold themselves
Mhm.
accountable. They learn from it and they use that to like motivate them to move forward. So I think the mindset aspect of it too, and not getting so hurt when you don't place how you want to place. Like I think that's a big part of acting like a pro before becoming a pro too. Cause like we've talked about this before for a lot of people when they turn pro, unfortunately they're going to go to their pro debut or they're going to go to the pro league and they're going to be at the very last call outs, right? And that can hurt and that can sting for some people. So I think being able to have that good outlook over placings and learning from them, I think that's a really, a key aspect of it too.
No, for sure. I mean, I think that's definitely something that happens with newer competitors and they kind of, you grow out of it or you quit the sport, right? And I can say most competitors, even the ones I work with, they'll look at a show and most of them, if they don't win, they'll feel like, oh, I got screwed a little bit here. I got screwed a little bit here. This person was this. They said they wanted this. They rewarded this. And I understand where they're coming from with it because I used to do the same stuff. Like when I first started competing, I would say the same stuff. I mean, I was like, well, I'm more conditioned than this guy. Well, the other guy had way more muscle. Right now, looking back on kind of stuff, right? It's about the balance of it. But the longer you compete, either you let that stuff get to you and you fall out of the sport, or you don't, and you realize that if you were really that good, then you would win. And that's what I say to every single girl. They're like, "Oh, there's politics. It was fixed." I was like, "Oh, was it?" So you say someone with Laura Lee's physique go up there and won on stage, would they win? Well, yes, then how is that politics if they didn't know who she was? Right? So be unbeatable. If you're unbeatable, you will win.
Yeah, I heard something yesterday. I was listening to a, like a football podcast, but it related so closely to bodybuilding. I think it's worth mentioning. It was the announcer basically said like, listen, referees and they make mistakes. So you at least a couple times a game, something a referee does is going to hurt your team.
Hmm.
You have to be better than that call the
Yep.
whole game. And it's just I think it's the same thing with prep. Like sometimes judges miss things or they get things slightly wrong, but you have to be better than giving them a chance. You
Hmm.
have to put yourself in a position where they don't have a choice but to pick you.
Hmm.
Be that much better.
And Paul, how many times have we seen someone walk on the show, we're like, well, there's your winner. And how many times has that happened? They didn't win. Almost never. Right? Like if someone comes out and they're clearly better, then it's not really a choice, right? Um, one thing that I always say that kind of falls into the same realm with it is have a plan, not an excuse. And I think everyone's like, well, this is difficult. I'm like, well, no one ever said it was going to be easy, especially people that work long hours, work long jobs. You have to come up with a game plan for it. And the amount of people I see that just don't, they're like, well, meal prepping's hard. I'm like, well, everyone struggles with a different part of prep, right? Some people struggle with the stage presence. Some people struggle with the training. Some people struggle with the cardio. Some people struggle with the eating. Some deal with the hunger. Some people deal with the fatigue. Everyone has certain things that hit them a little bit harder than others. And if people don't have good time management skills and they're in prep, you either learn them or you have a really, really tough time.
Yeah, yeah, and I hate to say this. This is not a message that I think everybody always can benefit from, but like if you like tough love, I think it can be a good one. Reminding yourself that there's always somebody out there with worse circumstances than you getting it done and working harder, right? Like, sometimes I think it's, and again, that's maybe not a message that everybody can benefit from, but if you're somebody that wants to be a pro and you're struggling to prep your meals, you're struggling to get everything done, like guess what? There's probably somebody out there who's way busier than you, has a lot more on their plate, and they're still getting it done, right? And some people need to hear that to kind of, you know, put them into their place and, make them realize like, yes, you can get this done if you want it, if you want it enough. And I think another thing too is if like you are somebody that struggles with getting all of your ducks in a row with meal prep or with that consistency, it doesn't hurt to sometimes reach out to people that you aspire to be like from a, competitor standpoint. Pick their brain, ask them like, what do they do that really helps them, that works for them, right? Like when it comes to meal prep, when it comes to how they structure their workouts, right? I know I have several ladies on my roster who have, kids, and there's always that conversation when they go throughout their first prep of like, is this going to be something I can manage while being a mom and while being present for my family? And sometimes I'll tell them, hey, reach out to so and so. She's got 4 kids. She's done very well competing, and like ask her, how does she do it? What are some of the things she implements that really help her? And that can be something that can be beneficial as well.
Yeah. And when I just, the thing, it drives me crazy when people are like, well, I just don't have time to prep food. I was like, then how do you have time to compete? Like
Right.
it, in the grand scheme of things, if you do it and you don't try to do it elaborately, you just do it correctly, you cook your proteins, you cook your carb sources, you could keep all of it separate and combine them the way you need them, then it may not look like an Instagram photo. Maybe you're not taking all these pretty pictures. Look at my meal prep. Like, I don't know anyone that actually meal preps like that in the bodybuilding world that's actually consistent with it. That has all their meals for 7 days planned out with their little accoutrements on it and all that stuff. People fall off when you do that. It doesn't need to be pretty. It needs to be applicable. And it needs to be something that you cannot think about. And it takes that stress out. People don't understand. If you prep your meals and you say, I'm eating these meals and I'm not going to eat other meals, if I have to come up with a business function or whatever that is, you make it work, then that takes the vast majority of thought and stress out of it. Anything that
It
you can
is
automate is better.
unbelievable how much time you get back when
Yep.
you do those things. That was my fear. My first prep was like, how am I going to do all this? And I remember I got to the point where I was meal prepping on Wednesdays and meal prepping on Sundays. And I
Hmm.
would either cook like a couple pounds of fish, a couple pounds of sweet potatoes, whatever meat, protein, carb source. And like you said, Evan, I wasn't like putting each meal together. And no, I was just cooking in bulk. And when it was time for me to eat lunch,
You
I would
serve it
weigh
out.
out 10 ounces of
Yep.
sweet potato. I would weigh out, 6 ounces of ground beef or whatever. And I would go eat my meal. And the amount of energy I saved in thinking like, what am I going to eat for lunch today? What am I going to eat for dinner today? What am I going to do when I get home? It was, when someone's like, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, I don't think you realize how much time and energy you expend figuring out what you're going to eat when it's
Mhm.
time to eat.
And if you work or travel for work, what I would do when I worked long hours at an office is when I get home, I'd make my dinner and I would set my meals out. I would have those same bags of food, preset my meals out for the next day. Here's meal one, meal two, meal three, meal four, throw them in there, bring in my cooler, have everything ready and walk out the door next morning. It literally took 4 to 5 to 6 minutes. Like that was it. Took no time.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel
So
like
it's funny. I just last night because I'm a dad. I got 3 kids. They're here, and last night I was cooking dinner for them. While I was making their dinner, I also cooked a couple pounds of ground beef just to put in the fridge for me because I'm getting in the mindset of starting prep. And I've been really good about my diet lately, but I'm going to take it to that next level. And so I just was like, oh, while I'm doing this, I can do that.
Hmm.
It feels overwhelming when you think about all the stuff you have to do, but you can just start combining tasks. Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. And I always like to say, like, if you want to be anything but average, which I would say being a pro is not average, like, you're going to have to be okay. And you're going to have to accept that you're going to probably have to do things in your day to day that average people aren't doing. And just be okay with that. Like, that's part of sometimes the price you pay for wanting to be anything but average or wanting to be a pro.
Yep. And it's simple things too, like your food choices, right? Like how many high level pros do you see eating a bunch of thing out of packages or bags? Not many. They don't. They may talk about it on their Instagram, but they don't eat many of them in a prep. They don't. They just really, really don't. Here and there, maybe, but outside of that, go backstage and watch people at check-ins and stuff to have their meals. It's the most simple stuff ever. It's meat and rice and of some vegetables and maybe a little bit of like some sort of sauce. That's about what you're gonna see from 99% of the people out
Well,
there.
the Atlantic Coast, they actually had a meal prep company because he had an expo, Tim did. It was
Hmm.
really nice. So I actually didn't have to leave to get lunch, and I got a bowl of rice, and I got like some brisket on it, and like it was a perfect, it was like Chipotle basically.
Hmm.
Like, you know, that's honestly, Chipotle would be a perfect prep. Like if you just could go into the kitchen every day and be like, I'll do this, this, and this, and that's your meal. That's
Hmm.
kind of how most bodybuilders handle prep.
Yeah.
That's the best way to think about it. When we talk about like meal prepping, I basically prep like Chipotle. I have the rice, I have my potatoes, I have all of them in separate things. And then I wake up next day, I'm like, what do I want to eat? And then I'll combine the different things into my individual meals. But I have all the different
Yeah.
proteins and carb sources and fat sources all done and
I'm
separated.
I'm this close when so once because right now is insane. I think you guys know with shows. I'm going to a show almost every weekend for the next 4 weeks with when I get to settle in, I'm gonna go to Fresh Kitchen and do the catering order of protein and just see how that goes for me. I got to find out the nutrition on how they prep their meats because I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a little fattier than I would make. Some of the chicken is,
Yeah.
but they also offer steak. They offer some other things, but I want to try that out. I want to go, okay, let me get like a couple pounds of chicken or steak, put it in the fridge and use that. Because I do love prepping, but that takes a while when I have to like prep my food, put it on the smoker, chop it up.
Hmm.
So if I could just
Yeah.
go pay $60 and get a bunch of chicken or steak for the week, that'd be cool.
Yeah, sometimes those meal prep companies can be really beneficial. I mean, I think they can be very advantageous also for people that travel a lot for work. Sometimes, for some people, it's just better to order from a meal prep company, have them ship, meals to your hotel room. I've also had a couple clients where I've recommended like going online to a meal prep website and not necessarily ordering, but for my people that struggle with like coming up with like, what do I eat? Right. Because sometimes there's that like paralysis by analysis of like, I don't even know
Mhm.
where to start. So sometimes I'll recommend go to like iconmeals.com or megafitmeals.com. Look at the meals that they're offering because a lot of them, like for the most part, are pretty simple. Like they're not putting together most of the time meals that have 15 plus ingredients in them. But I think it's also a good opportunity to get a little bit of inspiration too of like, oh, okay, I could put together this meal on my own. You know what I mean? Like it gives you sometimes some ideas of what you can prep on your own and piece together on your own. Because, not for nothing, most of these meal prep companies are owned by bodybuilders. And a lot of what they make and what they put into their meals, like you can make it at home as well.
Another great thing meal prep companies are good for is bulk buying proteins, right? You can buy bulks and bulks and bulks of proteins. You know what the easiest way to do all of this? Have a rice cooker, have an air fryer, and buy bulk cooked proteins. Then you can just make rice every few days in a rice cooker. You cut up a bunch of potatoes, throw them in your air fryer, throw a little salt and pepper on if you want, however you want to season with that. And then you have literally everything done in like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the air fryer is
nothing.
literally a cheat code for you can put those little baby potatoes in there.
Yep.
So
I
amazing.
don't know how my dad fed me without an air fryer. I use that thing twice to three times a day with my kids. Like
Yep.
it cooks everything.
You guys want to know something funny? So like I have my air fryer and I literally never use my oven. I air fry everything and I actually recently discovered, I don't know if you guys do this, you can hard boil eggs in the air fryer, believe it or not. You can just put raw eggs in the air fryer, in the shell, of course, and air fry them and it hard boils them. Like I use that thing for everything as well. Yeah, it's pretty nifty.
Some of the new ranges are coming with the air fryer built in.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think
Yeah,
so
it's
many people are using it.
definitely it's cool. And I mean, I also think like when it comes to acting like a pro before becoming a pro, like think about how many times too you'll go to a show or you'll go to a fitness expo or you'll go to a fitness event and like you see people walking around with, their backpacks with like their meal prep in it. Like that I think is also like a commonality amongst the people that are pros or that want to become a pro. Like again, they're going to take the time, they're going to pack their food with them, and I'm not saying you have to live like a perpetual robot 24/7 365 days out of the year and like only ever eat your own food, but like think about it. You go to those events and you see a lot of people who have their backpacks and their meals prepped, and I think there's something to be said for they don't just fall into the trap of every time they're out of their routine or every time they're out of their house they're eating out, right? Like they do stick with that consistency with their diet, even if it is a little bit more like challenging to do, or even if that means they have to take some time to pack it and prep it and put it in their backpack, like they just get it done.
What's the old
And here's
saying?
also
Like you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. So in a scenario like that, like if something was to happen and food wasn't available, they'd have options, right? So like they're basically preparing for to make sure that they get to stay on track.
Yeah, and like something I do all the time, and I mean, whether or not I need it, sometimes I don't. But like if I know I'm gonna be away, like out of the house for a couple of hours at a time, even if it's like in between meal times, I will always try to just pack a little something with me. That way, in case, like, heaven forbid, you get stuck in traffic, heaven forbid, you get a flat tire, heaven forbid, something happens, like, you have that extra food to kind of hold you over rather than making the excuse of, well, I got stuck in traffic, I was super hangry, so I pulled over and I got, Chick-fil-A or I got
So
something.
I got a sneaky move that I've been doing. I mean, it's not everyone probably is gonna be like, oh yeah, that's obvious. But like when I travel now, because I've been driving to a lot of the Florida shows, I bring a tub of protein powder and my shaker with me. And if it's a pinch and it's been a few hours since I've eaten and I don't have time, I'll just go out to my truck, put in 2 scoops, put in some water, chug the shake, clean the shaker out, put it back, and there I've had some protein and I'm feeling better and I'm not so likely to just get some McDonald's or something because I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so
that or
I keep protein powder in a shaker with me at all times. In airports, I'll put it in baggies if I have to, but I always have protein in a shaker with me.
yeah, yeah. No, when there is a will, there is a way. And I think, I feel like a lot of people get really surprised to hear too, like, when we talk about like flying, if you're going to be flying somewhere, let's say you are in prep or maybe you're not in prep, you can literally take anything through TSA as long as it's not a liquid. If it's not a liquid,
Yeah.
it could be rice, it could be sweet potato, it could be fish, it could be chicken. Like you can take anything through the airport TSA, and it's not that hard to meal prep, freeze your meals ahead of time, put it in a cooler, take it with you. Like if anything, it saves you time when you're traveling too, because you're not having to stop and figure out, okay, where am I going to eat, what am I going to order? It saves
Evan,
you.
tell Lexi what you used to do when you had that like job where you were in your truck all day. You literally had like a plug-in
Oh, my
refrigerator in
Well,
your
plug
hot
truck.
in.
logic.
Yeah, my plug in. Yeah, it was a freezer fridge combo. It looked like a cooler and it plugged in my like cigarette lighter.
Massive, but it was like it
Yeah.
plugged into like the cigarette lighter outlet.
Yeah, but I would have everything back. I would
Cool.
travel with it. I would be able to pull it out when I would go to
You
hotels.
brought it
I'd
with
pull
us
it
a couple
out.
times when we went to
Yeah.
Orlando for shows.
I'd
Oh,
pull it out,
that's
put it in the
so
hotel,
cool.
plug it in the wall, and you can immediately turn it to a freezer if you want to. It was great.
Love that.
And here's something too about TSA that people don't know is you can travel through TSA with ice packs. They just have to be
Yeah.
frozen. And so what I recommend is just going to like Walmart and getting like the $1.25 ice packs on there. Just buy one or two of those, freeze them, and just throw them away, right? Because you can't travel back with them unless you refreeze them again. But you're talking about like you're wasting like $2.50. Like really,
Yeah.
if that's
Yeah.
going to
Oh,
be a make or break thing for a
I've
flight.
had clients buy a microwave for 25, $30, have it delivered to their room and just leave it.
Mhm.
That or I mean, speaking of air fryers, they even make like baby air fryers that you can
Mhm.
get. I also have oh my gosh, what's the brand? Like there's the brand that makes like the little baby waffle makers, that are like real, like there's like
Yeah,
$10.
I know what you're talking
Those
about.
are, yeah, they also
Dash.
make, yeah,
Dash.
Dash, yes, yes. And they also make like they have the little baby waffle maker, but they also have like one that can make like eggs or like something like that. So like you can buy that stuff, take it to a hotel with you. I mean, I know that I hope nobody who works at a hotel is listening because I know they probably don't love this stuff, but like if you really want to go the extra mile and cook your food how you would at home, like those are things you can do, you know?
I think part of it too about is also understand all your meals don't have to be perfect all the time or look perfect all the time. If you
Yes.
travel and you're like, oh man, that sucks, I'm gonna have to eat like just bring something simple like a protein shake and a bagel and some chicken and some oatmeal you make in the coffee maker, or you eat just chicken and rice for 4 meals a day. Maybe it's not exactly what you want, but again, if you want to try to you gotta pick a lane here. You're either gonna get everything you want, make it incredibly difficult on yourself, or you kind of take a step back, and be like, you know what, it's just 2 days. I'm just gonna get this knocked out. I really don't care. It's just to prove up. It's just to feel my body right now at this point too. If I don't like my food for 2 days, who really cares? If you want to try to have everything perfect, you are going to stress yourself out and you're going to make things way more difficult on yourself.
That's a great point, Evan. Yeah. And I think that also is very applicable to workouts, especially,
Mhm.
with not only travel, but I think also the time of year we're going into with the holidays. Like, this is a time of year for a lot of people where their routine, gets a little thrown off. And I think that can throw a lot of people off. But, sometimes the best athletes, it's not about being perfect and it's about being adaptable and flexible too. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like when I go home for the holidays, which I usually go home for like 10 days or give or take, I don't train at the time I like to train at. Like, I love, if I had a perfect world, I love to train at like later in the day when I, am with my family around the holidays. Usually it's a matter of just I train whenever it's convenient for our schedule, right? It's not usually the time of day I like to train, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to train at all. I just do it. I know, okay, it's temporary. When I get back home into my routine, I'll be back in a good groove. But like, same concept for if you're traveling, right? Whether it's cardio, whether it's training, maybe you're going to have to get up at 4 a.m. to get it all done. And maybe that's not your preferred time of day to do it, but it's temporary. And again, it's not always about being perfect. It's about sometimes just checking off the boxes and then really capitalizing and enjoying those days that, yeah, you do get the opportunity and leisure to be exactly in your routine.
One thing I say with all new clients is my outlook on everything is be realistic, not optimal. If you try to be optimal on everything, you are going to drive yourself insane because you're going to feel like you're not doing what needs to do, and you're going to go from 100 to zero or 0 to 100. It's kind of the people that are an all in or all out mentality. And if you want to do this for a long time, and especially if you want to have any life and never leave your house ever, then you're going to have to understand what's realistic, right? And trying to come up with a plan that's actually realistic. And we go back to like bringing your foods with you. Like you see people at shows, everyone brings their food, right? It's about having options too. If the show runs long or you get hungry, it's about having something on hand you can eat so you don't just make a dumb decision and be like, oh, whatever. Because you can make those every day. Be like, oh, I just, I don't have any food, but I need some food. So I'm going to go get McDonald's, or I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do that. There's always a reason to do that. You're always going to have an excuse and always have a reason if you don't have something on hand.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, and so acting like a pro, I think one of the things that is kind of a non-negotiable is the training, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you travel with competitors that are pros or seasoned pros, it's not a question of are we going to train? It's what time are we training or what gym are you going to? What does your day look like? And if it's a long day, like an expo, those gyms in Ohio are packed at 7, 8, 9 in the morning because they're going to get their training in, they're going to go eat, then they're going to go to the expo.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great point. Yeah, it's funny that you think that you mentioned that because a lot of my travel does happen with bodybuilders, and I've just become so accustomed to it's like when you're traveling with other bodybuilders, other people who live this lifestyle, like you're right. It's not a matter of are we training? It's a matter of all right, like where are we training today? What time are we going to train? Like it's just a non-negotiable. Where it's funny, like whenever I'm traveling with my family, it's one of those things like that's not even a discussion, right? But you're right, Paul. It's like it's a non-negotiable for athletes when whether or not they're traveling or not. Like and this is something I always tell my clients, and I feel like to us like us three, this is very much so second nature, but sometimes I have to realize some people don't think about it this way. When you're traveling, if your hotel has a gym, awesome. That's always an option. Sometimes those aren't the best, but one of the first things I do when I'm going to travel is I'll look up, like if the hotel doesn't have a gym that I feel like I'm really satisfied with, I'll look up, hey, where is the nearest gym, like nearby? And then, if that means I need to buy a week pass or a day pass, like I'm gonna do it. It's important enough for me to be able to go the extra mile and do that. But a lot of people, I don't think always think like that. They think, okay, I'm going to go to the hotel. Oh, well, the hotel doesn't have a gym, so I can't train. Well, unless you're in like the middle of, I don't know, like North
There
Dakota.
is no place left without gyms. There is no place.
Exactly. And you know what the beauty of it is? Like there's always going to probably be a gym nearby. It may not be a gym you love. Like I've had instances where like no hate on Planet Fitness, but I've had to just kind of train at a Planet Fitness. It's not my favorite, but like it's what's available. And hey,
They have every piece of
They're not
equipment.
even bad anymore.
Yeah, they have every piece of equipment in there now.
it
Their
depends.
reputation is one way, but they're actually nice gyms with nice people.
Yeah, exactly. And like for example, something that I do, so I'm gonna go back home to St. Louis at the end of December and I'll probably be there for like 10 days. But what I did this last year, I found a gym and I really liked it. And I kind of talked to the owner or the manager or whatever. I was like, hey, okay, I'm gonna be here for 10 days. Like, what is my best option? Do I just buy day passes? Do you have a week pass? And last year he was like, you can just sign up for a month and then cancel. And then that way, like that's gonna be the cheapest way to go about it. So then I got unlimited access for those 10 days to go into the gym and like it worked super well.
Yep.
Mhm.
But that
If
again,
you talk to people at gyms, they'll typically work with you.
Yeah,
that's thinking like a pro or acting like a pro. It's not finding an excuse not to go. It's thinking ahead and making sure you can go. And
absolutely.
sometimes you get lucky. Some of these um, hotels have nice gyms. This last weekend, I was at a hotel, and it was like a normal hotel. I went in and I was like, whoa, had a full floor, leg press,
Mm.
Nautilus equipment, dumbbells up to 80s. I was like, this will work. And then sometimes you walk in and it's 4 treadmills and 3 dumbbells, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yep. That's one of the first things I do when I am staying at a hotel. Like, as beforehand, I'll try to do a little research on like, what does the gym look like? Does it have things I need, or do I need to like try to find another gym nearby? And
That's what the great thing about Republic of Texas, that host hotel. Have you been to that gym, Lexi?
oh
It's
yes, I
unlike,
have.
it's
Yes,
a full gym.
it
It's great.
is. It's very nice. Yes, very nice. Yeah, a lot of those hotels, a lot of Vegas hotels also have really good gyms. But I
What
think
about cruise ships? Do they have gyms?
Oh, okay. Funny you ask. So it depends on the cruise ship. I will tell you the bigger ships like Utopia of the Seas on Royal Caribbean, their gym, that was the cruise I went on in April. Really freaking awesome. Like I'm talking huge. Now I went on a cruise a couple months before that on a very small ship and the gym sucked. I mean,
Oh,
it still had dumbbells, it still had treadmills, couple machines, but I think it depends on the size of the ship. So I always just look ahead of time so I know what I'm going to work with. Um, but something else I do want to touch on, because I think this is very important, at least to me, is if you want to act like a pro before becoming a pro, checking in with your coach and not being somebody that just, only checks in when when it's convenient. I noticed there being a big correlation with that. Like the clients that just get it done, they check in regardless. Even like I don't know about you guys, but I have clients that will, that travel a lot for work and like they're still checking in when they're in a hotel and they're traveling for work, right? Like they just get it done. Whereas I feel like the non-pro mindset would be, oh well, it's a little difficult to check in today. I'm traveling. I'll just check in next week or I'll touch base next week. Like I feel like there is a direct correlation between the best athletes being the ones that just they check in all the time, whether it was a good week, whether it was a bad week, whether they're on a trip or not. Like I feel like that is a very common characteristic as well.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, acting like a pro to me, I mean, those are the two big. You're taking care of your nutrition, you're taking care of your training, because those are what's going to have the biggest impact on your body composition, your body fat. The other things that we talk about when it comes to being like a pro is depending on your division. I mean, I know some athletes that pose year round. And as a pro competitor, you can tell when people pose year round or they just pose in prep. Because some people, you can see them thinking about their poses. And some people, when they're up there, you're like, that looks like they've been posing their whole life, like they're so comfortable. Um, and that's something that I've been reiterating. I had a client this weekend compete, and she competed a month ago. And I was like, listen, your posing is way below what it needs to be for how good your physique is. And she took it to heart and she posed every day. And this weekend, when I saw her, I was like, wow, like complete difference. She's like, I felt so confident. I knew exactly what to do. I knew exactly where to stand. Like it just clicked finally. And I was like, so I could tell she had been putting in the hours. Um, but that's something that as a competitor, especially at the end of prep, if you wait to the end of prep when you're tired and you've got a lot of cardio and responsibility, posing gets pushed down the responsibilities, right? It's one of those things. So starting posing practice when you've got more energy and more time and earlier in prep will benefit you because granted, you can't have a crap physique and pose yourself into winning, but you can have a great physique and pose yourself out of it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and even just, like seeking out opportunities to learn, right? Like on that topic, seeking out posing seminar opportunities, right? Like that is so valuable. Seeking out just any opportunity that you get to learn, whether it's a posing seminar, whether it's just going to a show and like being there and watching what's being rewarded and talking to other athletes. Like, I think that can really help some athletes too, just like staying involved in the industry despite just getting on stage themselves.
Yeah, I think another thing, and this kind of falls in like having a plan with it, is if you know you have an issue, then you need to work on it. Like I have some clients that really struggle. They have their whole life with like they hold a ton of water if they ever eat off plan, or if they have bloating issues or constipation issues, or so we start trying to work through some of that. And I'll make suggestions on things. And 2 weeks ago, by like, well, I couldn't pull whey protein because I was busy here, and I couldn't do this because of this here, and I couldn't do this because of this here. And I'm like, okay, then do we really want to try to get to the bottom of this or not? Because these are big issues, right? They're big issues, and they're things that we need to figure out what's going on with it. And I understand that things get difficult, right? And things get busy, especially like trying to say, hey, like just pull out protein shakes or switch all your proteins out to a different type or all that stuff. It's not something you want to do like all at once. I get that. But there are certain things, right? Like if your body holds on to 5 pounds of water every time you get on an airplane, then we need to look at either you need to get to a place earlier or we figure out a way to reduce that water retention when you fly, right? And they have to be willing to play ball with you to be able to make any of those changes. And some people, it's too much of an inconvenience for them and they don't want to go through it. But then, they're also disappointed when they're also pulling out of water or bloated or not feeling good or something like that, close to on stage day or show day.
Yeah.
So
No, I think
doing the things you don't want to do that aren't fun, because there's a
yeah.
lot of things to have your physique look great that aren't fun, right? Like a lot of guys, it's exfoliating your skin so the tan's correct. Like the amount of guys I see that are high level that don't take care of their skin and are full of pimples and just adhesions, all this. I'm like, you got to take care of your skin.
Yeah.
It's important, and a lot of people just don't want to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's going the extra mile. And I think to your point too, talking about like the fluid retention and doing like the unglamorous things. I think it comes down to having also that accountability and the self-awareness too. I feel like that's a big commonality between some of the best athletes out there is like they're able to be self-aware, like they're
Mhm.
self-aware enough to call themselves out if needed, right? Like if they know, hey, you know what, I have been slacking. I'm gonna admit that and I'm gonna do better. Like I feel like just the
Mhm.
best athletes, they are able to call themselves out when needed. They're able to stay accountable. They're able to have that level of awareness rather than always just making excuses for themselves and like not being accountable towards their actions.
And that's part of an off season too, is working through things like that. That's not stuff you want to be trying to figure out in a prep when it's you got all that stress already. Let's already have it figured out. Another thing, a lot of, especially the bikini girls, it's mobility. They have no thoracic spine mobility. They cannot turn. They're like, well, my flexibility is bad, yet they never do anything to help with it. And then they get into prep the next season, it's the exact same song and dance every single
Yep.
time because it's not something they want to do. Same thing with a lot of like open bodybuilders. And I'll say this to Hill Doomsday, it's better now, but like a lot of them just won't do vacuums. They just won't do it. They won't. And I don't understand why they won't practice that TVA control and they just won't do it. And they wonder why they have issues with their midsection, and it's like, it's just a stubbornness at certain parts of it. I just don't get.
Yeah, yeah, the stubbornness it can get a lot of people for sure. Yeah, but the mobility, that's a good point though, Evan. I mean, I have had a couple girls where I'll explicitly tell them after their season ends, like, hey, I really want us to make a big goal this improvement season. to get more mobile, to stretch, to do more mobility. Cause I mean, I have some girls that have fantastic physiques, but like they can't, like their thoracic spine mobility is not
Hmm.
there, their lumbar spine mobility is not there. And I'll be honest with them. I'll tell them, hey, like, honestly, if you could fix this one thing, you could do really damn well. But again, it's not always that thing that's fun to do, especially when you're not in prep. Like, I get it. It's
Hmm.
not always fun to pose or even like do these little things where you're going the extra mile. It's not always easy to do it in a season like an improvement season because, for some people that can be more of the boring season. Like, it's easy to do these things when you're in prep and you're very motivated, you're seeing changes with your body, but I think that, that's another thing within itself that can really differentiate somebody who's going to turn pro and somebody who's not, is the people who, really lean into going the extra mile even outside of prep, right? Not just looking at their off season or their improvement season as a time to just, get really lax or get really sloppy with things, right? Like pro athletes, they go the extra mile year round.
Hmm. Like I've had some clients in the past, no longer, that I work with, that have had like thoracic spine mobility issues, right? And I'll say, hey, we need to start working Ascend like at least 3 times a week, preferably more, but at least 3 times a week. Like, well, hey, can you rewrite my training split and include that in it? I'm like, so you're telling me you just can't do that pre and post? You need me to rewrite your exact training split and just add an item line on there? Like,
That's
come on now.
that's funny. Yeah, I've
Come on now.
actually, I will say I've had some instances where I know I'll have some clients that I know if I don't like, I've had clients literally ask, they'll like for their next training split, they'll be like, hey, can you just write it in like it's an exercise of like what I need to do? Because if
Yep. Can
you
you
know
put
I
abs
need to do
first
it,
instead of last, or something like to swap stuff around?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
mentally it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that. And I'm usually willing to do that if they're like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll do it if you write it in. But yeah, but like all that stuff, like the posing, the mobility work, the stretching, like that's not always the fun stuff to do. And it's not fun to do it when you're not in prep. But again, that's an example of going the extra mile year round, which is what it means to like what we're talking about. Be a pro before you become a pro. That's things that a pro would do.
And
Let's
I
talk about
understand the need to ask that, like push your thoracic spine work in there. I understand that because if it's not there in front of you, and especially as a coach, if you give a lot of information and things to do, things eventually kind of get lost in the fray with it on there. But when it comes to certain important things with it, um, yeah, maybe I should just start putting it.
Eh.
let's talk about some other intangibles because I think most people would associate like a good diet, a good training with being a pro. But I want to talk about some intangibles and things that you'll notice of people that are pro or professional or acting is they are very accountable,
Yep.
and when they make a mistake, they own it. They don't, and you'll get these on your check-ins. Hey coach, last week this happened. I screwed up. Versus, hey coach, last week this happened and excuse to follow, right?
Mhm.
There's two
Mhm.
different like mindsets there. And pros, when you're making an excuse, that means your behavior does not have to change. And this is true in all areas of life. When you screw up, you have to own it. That makes you fix it. Because when you're accountable and you say, like, I did something that led to this, like you can have, for example, hey, coach, it was a terrible week. I got a flat tire on my way to work. Uh, you know, so I couldn't eat. I couldn't get to the gym. I couldn't get, okay. What could that person have done better to prevent that? All right. And then you start being accountable, like, okay, maybe I wasn't paying attention to my damn tires, like, or, like, and not in
Yeah.
all cases, but when you're accountable, you look for opportunities for how to fix that. And going
Mhm.
forward, it'll change that. Um, oh, hey, coach, sorry, I didn't get to the gym today. My kids were acting up. Okay, well, maybe we start going to the gym before work,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
this is how professionals act. They start finding opportunities instead of using excuses.
Absolutely.
Here's no, go ahead, Lexi.
Oh, I was just gonna say this reminds me of like I always tell my clients, you need to have an empowerment mindset as opposed to the victim mindset. Because like that is honestly, this is just in life in general. One of my biggest pet peeves is people that always have to just play the victim card and have that victim mindset. And like a lot of times in life, I feel like those are people I usually just kind of like weed out. But like, yeah, you have to have that, be accountable, have that, like look for the opportunities even in those negative times and have that empowerment mindset rather than just always kind of playing the whole victim card, because nobody likes it when nobody likes a victim mentality. Like, I'll just be honest, it's annoying when
Yeah.
you're around somebody that's always always playing the victim card for everything.
Yeah. I can bring an example. I think that would kind of make sense in different aspects too. Like I have a Tesla, and when I first got it, I didn't know it didn't have a spare tire in it. The moment I found that out, I drove around for 2 days and my low tire light came on. I was like, you know what? I just need to go ahead and have an inflator in my car. So in case that happens, and get a patch kit just in case something happens, because I can't switch my tire out because there's no spare tire. And so it's about thinking things about that. Then I got out of the car and it started storming on me one day. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to umbrella and throw it in my car. It's about thinking things like that so those opportunities don't come up again. Because I know if I didn't get that tire inflator, what was going to happen is I was going to drive down the road one time, I was going to have a flat, and I was going to be pissed that it didn't have a spare tire when I knew the whole time it didn't have a damn spare tire. So that's
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah, and like just learning from sometimes the situations that don't go according to plan, right? Like learning from them rather than, oh, we've got a little podcast visitor today.
He's
Ash,
being
right?
lovey now.
Ash.
Ash, yes.
Oh, Evan's cat is making an appearance if you're not
So
watching.
funny. He was so
Didn't hear one.
standoffish, and now he's like,
I know. Good
Ash.
bud.
Yeah, but like learning just from all sometimes like you said, Evan, like what those circumstances, like you they were, I guess, potentially negative, but like you learned from them. And everything is a learning opportunity in disguise if you choose to approach it or look at it that way. And even like even every, like talking about what we're who we're talking to, competitors, like even every show you do, right? Like or like if you compete, or if you compete in several shows, you're gonna have shows that just unfortunately probably don't go well, and like it may be due to silly situations, right? In terms of like, oh my gosh, like I had this super stressful life circumstance that came up on Thursday before the show. I didn't have control over it, and it kind of, caused my physique to look super watery and super stressed. But like a good athlete takes something like that and learns from it and asks themselves, okay, next time I compete, is there anything I can do to prevent that from happening again? Right? Like a good athlete will learn from those situations, that maybe aren't ideal or that aren't great, at a show.
There's another example. There was a show a few weeks ago that the hair and makeup I had a client supposed to get it at 6:30 in the morning, and she didn't get it until 12:45 and was on stage at 1. So she didn't even get her hair done for there. So I said, well, this is a good learning experience. Next time, make sure you bring a curling iron with you. So heaven forbid, this happens again. You have that as an opportunity to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And look, it's a horribly unfortunate circumstance, right? That, they got so backed up and they didn't have people show up. I understand that. But that's also an opportunity for show promoters to try to fix that as well. So everyone needs to try to fix things. And if you can try to fix things with it, it gives you, like you said, like say an empowered feeling, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what comes at me, I'm gonna be able to handle it rather than being like, oh, this inconvenience happened and everything got thrown off because of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know what I always tell my clients too is like there's something to be said for when you make it through a really hard day or a really unideal situation and you just make it through, like it does give you this sense of like gratitude for normalcy again, right? Like that's
Mhm.
always the way I look at like bad days, or whether it's a bad show experience or just a bad day in general. It's like if it was bad, it gives you that sense of gratitude for like the next time you have a normal day or a normal experience. And it's like a lot of times you don't have that much gratitude for a normal day unless you've seen the opposite of it, like unless you've had that bad day to kind of compare.
Yeah, I think that's exact a good representation of what pros do is when things go wrong, they don't let it ruin them. They don't because there's very rarely a complete like smooth show day, right? Or a complete smooth travel or a complete smooth prep. And there's nothing that's going to be completely smooth in any situation.
Yeah. And I think another thing, as kind of wrapping this topic up, I think another big commonality between like really good athletes or pro level athletes is they're not in a rush. Like, we've all had those athletes before where they start and they're like, okay, I want to do a show in 3 months. And then, like like, I feel like the best athletes, they're not in a rush. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like, how big I smile when I get a client on a consult call and they're like, I want to compete, but like I'm in no rush, Lexi. You tell me what needs to be done. I'm going to do it. I don't care if I need to take a year to build. Like I just want to be my best on stage. And if that means I need to take a little bit more time to get there, I will. Like that to me.
I listen, I just had a I don't call her girl, woman competitor who we were prepping for nationals. And we're coming down to the wire. We're inside of 4 weeks. And I'm like, man, I don't like the idea of chasing the look for the next 4 weeks. What if we did the Arnold instead? And she might have even suggested it. And I was like, let's go. Because now we can get down, take some recovery. Instead of 4 weeks, we've got 14 or 15 weeks, whatever it is. And I'm like, man, this is an opportunity. And she was excited about, listen, the overall winner at the Arnold gets invited back to the Arnold to compete, right? So it immediately kind of flipped the script from chasing, right, to allowing the body to respond appropriately and not having to put her in a position where, yeah, you're going to be less than your best because you just have to push so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that, right? And I think, Lexi, there's also kind of the opposite side of that, which I do get with a lot of girls that I work with. They're like, I just want to compete when I'm ready to compete. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean is ready to compete? If it's to walk in and win an overall at your very first show, yeah, I mean, we may be prepping for a long time and then we can't guarantee that anyways, or we're going to be working for years and not guarantee that anyways, right? So it's about, I think, helping people kind of understand, we want to get on stage, we want to be competitive, we want to feel like we belong up there, but we also don't need to be our final form of your entire competing
Uh,
career, because if you do that, most
absolutely.
people never end up competing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And and I know we're talking about like how to act like a pro before becoming a pro, but like to your point, Evan, taking a first-time athlete that is, almost afraid to step on stage unless they look like their favorite bikini pro or their favorite like, pro athlete, like, you're going to be probably waiting a long time if you're just waiting until you feel like you get to that point, right? So I think and like that's a good point too about how I try to always tell competitors like go into your first show with no expectations. And I don't mean that in a sense of like we're going in and we're not bringing a good package and I don't want
Yeah.
you to get your hopes up, but I just find that I mean, you guys would probably agree with this. We've all competed. Like when you go to a show and you have expectations for yourself and you're like, all right, I'm going to get first. I'm going to win an overall. And then that doesn't happen, it hits hard, right? Whereas if you go into a show and you're just confident in the fact of like, all right, I know I'm bringing my best. I can't control who shows up, but I know I'm bringing my best and that's all that matters. Like, when you just go in without those pressing expectations and that like without that pressure on yourself, I find that it just makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable too.
I agree.
Yeah, I've
I agree.
always thought of prep as I am going to fight to do the best I can do, and I'm going to understand that that's all that matters. I can't control the rest. And
Yeah.
if you do all that, you will get a good result.
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
Be the best version of yourself. I know that sounds super lame, but it's true. Like if you're the best version of yourself and you keep becoming a better version of yourself on stage and improve package, you will get to where you want to go eventually. You will. It may not be the exact look you have because a lot of people don't understand structures and kind of how that looks, and some people just can't look like their
Yeah.
favorite person structurally. But you can be something that when you look back on from where you started, incredibly proud. And I think that's what this is all about, you know?
Hey, all I know is I was standing outside of the convention center, minding my own business, and someone said, "Hey, can you tell us where the bodybuilding show is?" And I thought, that's a good sign. I
That's
look
a
like I
good
lift.
sign. That's funny. Paul, I won't forget when we were in Vegas. Oh gosh, I think it was the night you were driving. We took Brett's truck and you drove us to Meet the Olympians. And I remember we were driving and on the street you saw a bunch of like people that looked like were bodybuilders and you're like, all right, I know we're in the right area. It's like you can
Yeah,
always spot where
that's
the
what I felt. I was like, hey, I'm the authority right now. People looking at me like, hey, this guy knows where the bodybuilding show is.
I like it.
I
I
bet I
like
can
it.
guess what color's Brett truck was and what type of truck it is, but we'll save that joke for later.
Oh yeah, you can definitely guess which
I
one
mean,
it
if you've known him for 10 years, he bought the new version of his same truck. He has two of them now.
Yeah, they're exact
I
same.
I actually drove it. I actually drove the one in Vegas one night.
He keeps one in California and he keeps one in Vegas.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it was funny. I drove it because Masa doesn't have a license, so I drove us to the store.
What?
Well, don't quote me. I
Talk
don't.
about a passenger princess. Oh boy.
Well, I don't quote me. I don't want. I just know. I don't think she's gotten it. Well, she lives in downtown area, so she doesn't really have to drive
Hmm,
anywhere. And Chris, I think, just drives when they need to drive. So that's why I drove us to the store in Brett's truck.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right, guys. Well, any final thoughts?
No.
All right. Well, this will come out on Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving to all that celebrate. And as always, any podcast
Oh
topics.
yeah, for anybody that's interested, we are having a Slay the Holidays group. It's like a private Facebook group. We're going to be doing meal plans, training plans, and it's just for support. It's just for community. We got some fun holiday recipes and stuff in there, strategies. We'll be doing some live videos. It starts December 8th and it goes through the holidays. So
Sweet. All right. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for listening.
Pro Physique Code. We out.